Welcome to episode 242 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I am so glad Brittany Smith is back on the show. How you doing, Brittany? Welcome.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I always love having you on the show. We're so glad you're here. And we had a little bit of pre-show Star Wars chatter, but that's okay. That's what we do when there's some fun to be had before the show. And speaking of fun, Jeff Gamet's here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, and I'm really happy to be here with both of you. And that's not just talk. I'm really happy to be here with both of you.
Very happy you are as well. This week, beta dropped. As I was about ready to say 3 weeks in a row, no beta, but then the early afternoon, as we record this, Apple dropped for the 16.4. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes here. Lots of news. Something is premiering very soon, and there's a couple shows, but one of note we'll be talking about in just one moment. And HomePod, we're going to talk a little bit about that, as well as might even sneak in some ChatGPT and some other stuff. There's always something to talk about. We're going to have some good discussion this week because I got the perfect people to talk about it. So, and what I was talking about, the show is coming out, and I can't believe it. I'm so excited. Oh my God. Apple announces the release date of Ted Lasso season 3. It's March 15th. Oh my God. I'm excited as all heck. And I think a lot of us are. And, it is going to return March 15th. You will see AFC Richmond take on West Ham United in the league and a coach face-off of Ted and Nate. Can't wait. It's, they have a teaser trailer. It's out now. And 12 episodes, just like season 2 was. And will it come back or will it not come back? We don't know, but let's focus on the show. Brad, you like Ted Lasso? I assume you do.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're also going to have to now rewatch that
season 1
to lead
2.
up to it.
Yeah, just get it back fresh in our minds.
We've been debating. So I'm in a family share plan with my parents and my husband. And mostly because I wanted them to use my paid apps and not cheap crap with ads. And and we've been debating back and forth. Okay, so do we cancel the Apple TV or are we going to keep it? And we were going to cancel it for like several months, then we didn't. And my mom started watching some stuff again. So we haven't canceled it. And I guess we're going to wait like 3 more months and then we'll cancel it.
Well, it gets shrinking in that too, because that's another great show that just came out with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel.
Yeah, and then there's that show that's coming up very soon with what is it, Billy Crupp?
Oh yeah, what was the name of it? Yes, I know what you're talking about. It looked really good.
Mm-hmm.
I have to look that up. But yes, that was.
Wait, there's a new season of Ted Lasso coming.
Oh, that thing too.
Huh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's it's exciting. But with Ted Lasso, it's going to go through the 31st of May, and it's going to just squeak in on the Emmys, so they won't miss it out. So they can be eligible for that too. So we're just going to go assume that they'll be Emmy award winning for another year. I think everybody's going to be talking about it like crazy. We'll have Kelly on a couple times. She's going to be. Who knows if she brings back the Ted Lasso podcast, and there's going to be all kinds of fun stuff for the next couple months here. So,
all right. So Kelly and Ted Lasso.
Yes.
The other day, I sent her a link to the T-shirt that has the barbecue place on it, and Kelly responds back immediately with a link for the guy that invented the T-shirt. Yeah. I'm like, seriously, there's no way I can come up with anything Ted Lasso that she doesn't already have.
She probably has it all. So, we love you, Kelly. I just want to mention in the chat here that at youtube.com/intouchwithios, great to see Paul, great to see Ben. Looks like Guy's in there, Mr. Verchark, and they're talking a little bit about Ted Lasso. And a guy says, is Ted Lasso the new cowboy show? Okay. And
Guy,
we love
seriously, these jokes. Do you want to go wait in the car? Because I'll make you wait in the car.
Yeah. And Ben says Kelly knows all. So So thanks for being in the chat. I'm glad everybody's here. Let's go on and move on to the next story for this week. There was a big, huge 1Password update this last week. Actually, this just was announced yesterday. 1Password is out with a major update for iOS and Mac and Android and PC and Linux too, since it does everything now. The new release brought over 100 new features, improvements, bug fixes, and the ability to reorder fields, sections inside items. Oh my God, that's going to be great. Keyboard shortcuts, improved search, continuity and handoff support for Apple devices. And we could just go on with all the different things at the full release notes. They fixed and improved the Face ID, and some tapping a field will now copy the field details to your clipboard. So it just goes on and on. I know, Jeff, have you been playing with the new update and anything that's of note that you're enjoying?
I've installed the update and I'm using it, but I've been busy enough. I haven't had a chance to start playing with the new things. But the whole thing with everything they dropped into this update, to me, that this is a really, really great example of how a company that switches to a subscription model does it right. And I think in this case, it's showing how that improved income stream is paying off for everyone. And yes, a lot of this is at the corporate level, big companies that are using 1Password, but this is what happens when it's done right. And we get these.
Did they also do a giant investing round? Am I getting them mixed up with somebody else?
There's VC that ended up. Yeah. And was it like a year or two ago? I can't remember when.
Well, ever since they switched over to Electron, the platform, and now they're platform agnostic, so now they can be on basically anything. I think that's what attracted the VCs and wanted to get. I mean, that's really what they had to do. They had to get that to get more investors into the product, and especially with the whole LastPass debacle, I can't imagine that didn't help 1Password much at all. But, yeah, of course it did.
I was going to say, I think the last time I was on was right after the LastPass breach.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you're using 1Password, right, Britt?
So I have a very old version of 1Password, and I've been mostly on Keychain, but I've been saying this for a few months. Any minute now, I'm going to expand in the ways I've been intending to, and I will need to. I'll just need to get a business account for 1Password because LastPass is probably not going to be where I'm going now.
No.
That seems totally reasonable and plausible.
So, check the show notes. We got the article link on 9to5Mac. It's going through the whole list of all the great enhancements and updates and features. 100 of them. So, but
I'm very much looking forward to diving in and taking advantage of at least a few of the new features.
Let's hope. Next story is about the USB-C rumors and iPhone 15. There was also a rumor that actually showed they say it's the actual iPhone 15, but I didn't talk about that this week. More so that the reporting of Apple's planning to limit iPhone 15's USB-C to the speeds of Lightning. The company charging cables will feature a Lightning-like authenticator chip, potentially limiting their functionality with Apple unapproved accessories. Which there's a rumor about that. I would not be at all surprised if something like this Apple does this, because they've done it. They've done it plenty of times before. They want it to be the certified accessories, the genuine peripherals, like we always promote here, because you get by those dime 5 and dime cords that are sitting at the checkout at Walgreens, and I just think I saw them the other day. I'm like, oh my God, don't ever buy those. Yeah, it's $5, but it's. Who knows? There could be some malware in the cable, right? What do you think, Britt?
Or it doesn't manage voltage correctly.
Yeah, that too.
And screws up the battery or overheats. I mean, I'm just jumping in. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Apple doing this seems completely plausible to me. And while I do see a lot of people potentially saying, "Oh, look, this is just Apple being spiteful and complying with nothing more than the letter of the law, and still finding a way to make it all about you have to have just Apple stuff." Sure, maybe. I'm looking at it more like Apple is aware of the $5 cables at the checkout stand,
right?
And if an iPhone catches on fire and someone's using a crapo cable, it's much easier for Apple to say the iPhone is a safe device. It's not like a Samsung phone that's going to explode in your pocket. And look, if they had been using a cable that is certified to be safe, this would not have happened.
Yep. What do you think, Britt?
My issue right now that I have sometimes is when I have a cable that is certified and it tells me it's not and refuses to work, which happens not infrequently. My other concern is we already have a gigantic, confusing landscape of USB-C and what does what. And if they do that, they need some mandatory big old label on it that says this is the iPhone one, because I could see a lot of frustration coming out of that. I mean, I have a bunch of Anchor USB-C to USB-C cables. Yeah, they predate it.
Like this one.
Right.
Then this is the USB-A. Because my wife had one at her bedside and says it will stop working. So the first thing I want to check, okay, you get this cable. Let's make sure it's certified because I like these kind of cables because they have they're kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The USB-C, the USB to Lightning. You never know sometimes with those cables, and people love these longer cables too.
But I have ones that are from Anchor. I trust it to not catch fire.
Yes.
Right. Whatever we like that their other products have done lately, like I trust that cable to not catch fire. But if those cables all predate this certification program,
right,
does that mean I can't use them? And so now I have to remember.
I didn't think about that.
Is this the one I can use or is this the one I can't use? So also having a big label, but also like, what about the one I've been using on my iPad for 2 years? Can I not use that on my phone?
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, I like to tell people don't buy those drugstore those cables.
Don't
please,
do that. Yes,
please don't. I thought I had kind of have fun. I Justine, everybody knows her as the social media influencer, Apple loving of Apple, all Apple. She came out with her line of cables. They're all pink and they're kind of cute. And so I went on Twitter. I said, Are these certified? Because I didn't see anything mention of it. So she's, oh yes, these are certified. I figured there were with anything with Justine. She's gonna make sure they're certified. So I mean, those are kind of cables you kind of wonder, okay, am I really gonna want to buy those or not? But they have to be. So, but yeah, just make sure your cables are certified. That they have the label right on there. It says made for iPhone and iPod. They even have that same logo.
Does it say it on the cable?
Usually doesn't. No, that's the bad part.
Yes. Yeah. I needed to say it on the cable.
Yeah.
Itself.
Yes.
So it's sitting next to my other USB-C that's not. And then it's also sitting by my Thunderbolt. Like, which one am I using for what? And I'm concerned.
Yeah, it usually doesn't. So, all right. Next story, Plex. I've been a big Plex user. Plex has launched a new feature for skipping TV show and movie credits, which is available on the Apple TV and iOS. Plex is out with that new feature. It will actually easily skip the ending credits for any TV show or movie called Credits Detection. That is designed to let you quickly move on to the next episode of a TV show or find post-credit content. And the article goes through and how do you actually go through this, and you have to scan through it. So just like having commercial skipping, which I think everybody loves and wants, this is another thing that Plex decided to add. Boy, I'm really seeing a lot of upgrading and adding of new things. Discovery is a new thing that Plex has now, and Plex is really a big player in the streaming wars, and they've added some more channels, and it's really interesting to see where they're going to go. And I'm a lifetime subscriber, so I've got the Plex server like many of us do, and yeah, it's exciting to see where they're going with this and what more features they add. What do you think, Brittany?
I mean, I have to put the thing out there as a person who's had an incredibly minuscule number of times I looked for my name on a credit. Like, I do have to put the plug in, like, they do deserve the credit.
They do.
But I have also sat there for, I don't know, 10 solid minutes at the end of and/or thinking, when are you going to autoplay the next one? So I see both sides of it.
Yep. Yeah. So it's definitely good. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah. First, the credits thing. Brittany, I am with you. I watch the credits. However, the whole thing with we've gone through the credits and now we get credits for translations for 7 more countries. Okay, I don't need to sit through that part. So at that point, I'm ready to jump ahead.
In those countries, they showed up, right? Like, could you show up specifically in the country that you apply to? Thanks.
Yeah,
that too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the French version. Show up in those. Well, I guess that would be on ours too. But like, this is the Russian one. No. This is
the Japanese,
Italian, Japanese. Yeah, those are great.
Yeah.
Good examples.
Yeah. So, anyhow, Plex, I think, is being incredibly savvy.
They are
with the things they're doing.
Take some smarts.
Yeah, they're positioning themselves to be the go-to for your personal content and streaming content.
Yep.
But then they could have easily said, "Hey, we're your collection of stuff." I don't know if this will add significantly to their user base, but it sure is a great like quality of life feature for the user base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's cool to see developers who care about a thing adding to it when one of those features alone may not add significantly to their bottom line.
Yeah, I talked to the guys when they were at CES, and the discovery feature was also another cool thing. You'd be able to discover different shows and a lot of their live content that they're currently streaming. So no, it's exciting because they were kind of flat for a while. I mean, I love having Plex server and playing around with that and having all my movies and TV shows and stuff. But it's definitely interesting. So. Next story here, Goldman Sachs move casts shadow over Apple's savings accounts. Apple was announcing for a planning of a savings program that's going to link, especially with 16.4 coming out potentially, but it could be jeopardized with Goldman Sachs is reportedly dropping its consumer credit card efforts outside of Apple Card. They wanted. CEO said that he wants the bank to increase its efforts in developing financial services for consumers. They were big with the Marcus savings account and Marcus loans. I use their services, and I thought they were very good. But it seems like they're not doing so well. They did post that big loss, which I think you kind of wonder, is that a big loss? Was that really a legitimately big loss? But the Apple Card is doing very well, and but everybody's itching to get this pay later as well as the savings account, and I think it's going to be kind of easy to do it because it's so easy to use your Apple Card now and paying things off and getting right in the wallet. I'm just curious to see where this is going to go. What's happening with Goldman Sachs? What do you think, Jeff?
I think it's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
And okay, so when I'm watching stuff about, and Apple's going to do this thing that goes into the financial space, and then there's something else about, well, this part is now delayed, and people are like, well, Apple screwed it up, or whatever it is that they're saying. No, this is a space where, from a business standpoint, it's very easy for Apple to want to be in those markets, but there's a lot of other regulatory stuff that goes along with it, and so we'll end up seeing delays. We'll end up seeing stuff that they're planning on that ends up having to change because it turns out that working through the rest of the regulatory stuff or the partners they're working with are suddenly not going to do it because it's not a viable market. Okay, it's fine. So, yeah, maybe we won't see the Apple savings account thing.
I don't know that. Just I feel like the article was reachy. Like, just because Goldman Sachs decided they're not doing something in a consumer service doesn't mean they're not going to do one with Apple.
Yeah,
like,
and that's a really good point.
I really agree with that.
I mean, those of us who remember can be surprised they're still in business at all, and they really need this relationship with Apple to work. And so I think they're going to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they are. The savings account's going to come out, and it definitely the Apple Card continues to evolve. I mean,
beta that just came out today. Like,
right. Yes.
I mean, yeah, things can be removed from a beta. We've all seen it happen, but
yeah. So
yeah, I'm in the camp of it may be delayed a little bit longer than Apple would like.
It's the financial industry itself. That's what causes that.
But it's going to come.
Yeah. So, let's move on. Next story. I actually got this surprising email today from Paramount Plus. I'm a Paramount Plus Showtime bundle subscriber, and they are lowering the price of the bundle. I was paying $14.99 a month, but you pay for the whole year, so you get a much better deal. They're lowering it down to $11.99 because they are working on doing a kind of the bundle merger where they're going to rename it, and Showtime is going to be just basically be absorbed as part of the Paramount Plus. I forgot what they're going to call it, but it's for Showtime, and just like a lot of other streaming services, they're kind of merging and going through that. We talked about last week with HBO and Discovery Plus. They decided not to do it. Well, Paramount Plus and Showtime are going to do it, and I would have this feeling that it'll have the prominent name of Showtime, since Showtime's been around for a long time. It's a good service, and the app is actually pretty decent. And for those of us who have Paramount Plus, we're always we're watching Star Trek, which Picard's coming soon,
soon. I got up early to watch it.
Oh, did you go to the premiere?
It dropped today.
It did drop
the
today?
First episode.
Oh my God, I even missed that.
I set an alarm so I could get up early this morning and watch it.
I know what I'm watching after the show.
Any shows and stuff.
I've been itching to watch that. Oh my God! So this is good news, and for us who like watching Star Trek, even more. So, Brittany, you subscribe to any of these services?
Not the Paramount one. Although I do have access to the Paramount one. I actually forgot about it till just now. So my friend wants me to get caught up on all the Star Trek shows. We did watch a season and change of Picard when he was visiting. But yeah, we've between pre-show and this, we've discussed a lot of things on my watching queue.
Yes.
And I don't watch things very fast.
Yes. So,
but yeah, the only reason I probably would be for the Star Trek content.
Star Trek, absolutely.
Yeah.
A couple more stories here. T-Mobile is always known for, you guys are not big sports fans, but as everybody knows, Apple did sign a 10-year agreement with the Major League Soccer, and they have the MLS season pass, and it's usually $14.99 a month, or $99 for the season, or if you bought the whole season at a discount rate for $79. But if you're a T-Mobile customer, you now can in their T-Mobile Tuesdays app, which I always have fun getting free stuff. Well, this is really cool. The offer can now be redeemed on coming up a week from this coming Tuesday, as we record this, that you'll be able to get a free season subscription pass from T-Mobile, and you'll be able to watch the soccer if you so choose, or football, as our friends in the UK call it. But they also do Major League Baseball too, so it's kind of fun to see that T-Mobile has been partnering up with Apple with this kind of stuff, as well as Major League Baseball and others. So. I don't know, Jeff, you're not a spectator sport fan, but I like to see how this is going with these sports services. There's another rumor too of NBA basketball. So Apple really is getting high end services.
I don't have to be a spectator sport fan to appreciate the value in having the big name sports available through Apple TV Plus. Yep. That's a big thing.
It's Must be the office manager.
My office. Okay. Here's how brilliant my office manager is. See, here's the store right here, and she's been batting at it, wanting to get in. Now, just off camera right here is the door that's open, so she can come and go as she pleases. And she knows the door is there, and it's always open. And yet, bless her little cat heart.
What do you think, Brittany? Oh, you're muted, Brittany. She's still muted.
I think the baseball strategy was brilliant because it got a lot of people to look it up that had never looked it up before. Hey, it's free. You just have to actually figure the thing out. And so there was incentive to figure out how to use a streaming service when they didn't know already. I thought that was really clever. I don't watch it, but sure. I think it's clever.
No, I think it's smart. Pretty much all we could say about that. Lastly, I thought this is a good discussion, a brief discussion here. Apple reveals iOS 16 and iPad OS 16 usage stats for the first time. This is the first time since iOS 16, iPad OS 16 was released last fall. Apple has shared data on adoption rates for these updates. Apple says that 81% of all iPhones introduced in the past 4 years are now running iOS 16. Wow, that's phenomenal. And 72% of all iPhones, what is it? I think what it said. It said introduced in the last 4 years are now running iOS 16. So they have it broken down here as far as 81%, 15% on iOS 15. There's still 4% left on anything earlier. And iPad is at 53%. So these are interesting. Interesting data. This is interesting data, and actually, for the first time, it's legitimate data. That we aren't having analysts looking at these numbers, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
They've said it in at a event before, but publishing is different than hey, here's the numbers we want you to know.
Yeah, and these numbers aren't vague, and sometimes in presentations they won't give you all the numbers. They give you just enough information. Yeah. They use their Jedi mind trick on you.
Jedi mind.
Yeah.
These are the numbers that you're impressed by.
These are the numbers I'm impressed by. Oh my God, it works.
It does work.
I like seeing Apple do this, and of course they're not going to do it if they feel the numbers are bad.
Yeah, for sure. So
I was gonna say I'm surprised that as many people that there aren't more updated, but I know a whole bunch of people that can update that haven't, or that have phones that can't update because you know what? Apple's chips are real good. And I know a bunch of people running 7s as their daily phone, and they can't get iOS 16.
Right.
And it just means I have to remember who I can actually edit text to or not.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The thing is, though, Apple makes hardware that's so good that iPhone 7, even though it can't run iOS 16, is still a really good phone.
For the amount my mother-in-law uses it,
right.
She doesn't do fancy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And besides, I gave her my old Apple Watch, and now she's using that half the time.
There you go.
She's doing great.
My mom's on an iPhone 7, and she is upgrading to a 14 any day now, literally any day now.
Oh, wow.
And for her, the reason she's going to the 14, there's two reasons. And a maniacal devotion to the Pope. No, the first is because she wants the better cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And the second is she wants to replace her Apple Watch Series 1. And if she's going to get a Series 8, well, she needs an iPhone that can run iOS 16. And
which is why I gave her my 4.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law.
And my dad has my 4 already. So for mom,
Yeah.
she wanted a new phone anyhow, and she came up with two
deserves a new
legit
phone.
reasons. She does.
She does.
Yeah. So she's getting her new phone, and my dad is just waiting for that other shoe to drop, which is the one where she says, "Well, now that I have my phone, I seriously can't."
Watching.
I was just watching the knob.
she knows what the doorknob is, and she's been able to get a couple of the closets open before, so she'll look at it. Anyhow, so cut to the chase. My dad knows that he's about to buy my mom an Apple Watch Series 8 too.
That's great. So let's go ahead and move on for the topics for this week. We got some pretty important updates that need to be run. Everybody who doesn't work on beta, you should have by now installed 16.3.1. That does include some pretty serious security updates. In fact, I mean, even on Mac OS and Ventura 13.2.1, they were pretty much forcing it installed because there was some active exploits and vulnerabilities on all the platforms. So PSA, please make sure all your devices are up to date. The 13.2.1 on Mac OS Ventura and iPad OS and iOS 16.3.1. And be sure those are
updating my non-beta iPad now.
Yes. Make sure that's done.
Excellent.
I don't remember to update my iPad very much.
Watch OS.
Well, based on the stats in the article Dave was talking about a minute ago, you're not alone. Yeah. Most people seem to forget to update their iPads.
They do.
I have a good reason, though. My iPad was never on 15.
Oh, went from 14 to 16?
Went from 14 to 16.
Wow.
Because it sucked to edit and make shortcuts so much. Like when they first moved to the Swift UI thing. And I needed a device that didn't suck to make shortcuts on. And so anything I had to do with the new one would happen on my phone. And then once 16 was fine. So I just updated to 16.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I have a good reason, but I don't know about it.
Well, now you're doing it.
Yes.
Watch OS 9.3.1 is out. TV OS 16.3.1, I think, or actually 16.3.2. HomePod OS got 16.3.2, and we know that HomePods are still not working the greatest, right, Jeff?
Right. Okay.
I can't even tell when my HomePod's updating or not.
No one can.
I manually do the updates, and that whole process has gotten janky because it doesn't tell me it's updating the HomePod minis, just the HomePod. And I have to check later and figure out if the HomePod minis actually got updated. Anyhow, I have no problem bagging on HomePod OS with the 16.3.2 update. However, I have to give Apple some credit here because they fixed a lot. And Siri on the HomePod is so much more reliable for me than it's ever been since the HomePod was released. The exception is, because there's always an exception, Siri shortcuts on the HomePod, it's still a total crapshoot if it's going to do those.
Yeah. But still make sure you update those and get those taken care of. Little did we know, as we record this today, iOS 16.4 Beta 1 was released to developers, and it was great to see that they decided to do that. And there is a lot of things that were added to it. We know how important it is to get new emoji characters, and there's 15 of them.
Crucial.
Yeah, it's very crucial. They did add Safari Web push notifications for both iPhone and iPad. That's new. And many others. And then adding to the home screen for third-party browsers. So Chrome could be on there, or Edge if you so choose. The HomeKit architecture, finally, you're going to be able to upgrade and bring it back after all that time. The podcast app has got some love with channels access available in the library section up next now, resume episodes, so that they are doing some improvements. The Apple Music app has some prominent button for accessing your profile, which is good. And, Apple Care coverage overview, and actually you go through your list of devices. It actually tells you, is it covered or is it not, and gives you that information. Shortcuts. This I knew Brittany would like this because you said you just got it. Installed today. There are options in shortcuts that create workflows that lock the device's screen and control the always-on display. But there's also an option to automatically enable or disable Stage Manager on the iPad, as well as Apple has added some options to have Siri announce notifications that an action that can be incorporated into a shortcut. So here's another good one, because you guys just did your episode. I'll give a plug for you and Eric on Mac Voices that you just talked about Mastodon clients.
Yes.
Go check that out. Content previews for Mastodon in Messages. When you send a link to a Mastodon post to someone in the Messages app, it now displays the preview of the content that was shared rather than simply a link or a link with an image.
That's a pretty big endorsement for Mastodon.
That really tells you that Apple is like, they're probably fed up with Twitter. Really, is probably what it is. Where that just kind of shows you where things are going with this. So, but there's tons more stuff that I can go on and on. But they've done some really good, nice enhancements in here. One of the other interesting things they did with beta in itself, especially if you're a developer, one change that Apple is making developer beta installation easier for registered developers and harder for those who are not.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting in June.
See where this goes. Yeah, with WWDC. So
lots of people will use their friends' developer accounts to get the profile and install it on their. Yeah.
The cool thing is that's always been the tough thing to deal with, is having to go every time you had to go get that profile and download it whenever it would change. But registered developers will have the option to enable the developer betas directly in settings, because it's registered to your Apple ID. So as long as you're signed into the same Apple ID that's your beta account, it
doesn't mean you don't have to be a developer, but your account has to be associated with a developer account.
Right.
I have a test from Argyle, my brother's company. And so because I helped him test his fancy AR app, then I can install the developer betas on my phone. Yeah. And also he's a nice brother.
He is.
So I have a company phone-ish, except I bought it.
Ish.
I like that.
If it were going to be a company phone, he would have made me get a Pro, because they've got the lasery thing.
Yes, they do have the lasery thing.
What is the word? It is not coming.
LiDAR.
Thank you. That's the one. LiDAR.
But you know what? Lasery thing is now part of my lexicon.
Yeah, I want to put that in there. Yeah.
I feel like that one's better.
But so what features does your iPhone have? The lasery thing.
Ooh, that is nice.
Yeah.
WatchOS 9.4 is out. As always, nothing to really report or talk about. tvOS 16.4, same thing. Nothing to really talk about. But those are out. Make sure if you're a developer to go check those out. And they've also added I did talk about the podcast app. Some more features for CarPlay, which is great. That'll give you some enhancements, because I've always found that the CarPlay in the podcast app has always been kind of cumbersome trying to navigate. That's probably why I use Pocket Casts. Is my favorite. But it's there
was one more I thought was interesting, which was push notifications.
Oh yeah,
if you said it, I was spaced out.
Nope.
Okay,
the web push
from web apps.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. What did you think?
And okay. I have never found a website I wanted a notification from.
Yeah.
But I can imagine the situation where one would, if your task manager was based in that and you didn't want the app on your phone or couldn't have it on your phone because it's a company phone. Mm-hmm. There's a few scenarios where it could exist. Anyway, I thought it was interesting. If I start getting companies constantly asking me to do that, then I'd get real cranky. But it looks like it's only for ones that you've installed onto your home screen. So
right.
I'm not totally sure yet because again, I installed the beta like an hour before we got.
We all have had much of it as so, middle of any time of it because it just dropped. I think
it's interesting,
literally 4 or 5 hours ago. So,
and that they can be included in focus modes. So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
And like you, and the last thing about iOS 16.4 beta is, like you mentioned, Brittany, is that it does lay the groundwork for Apple Cash high yield savings account. So you do see it in there. So they're doing it. It wouldn't be in there if they weren't. But who knows? They could change, but I don't see it. I mean, Apple is all in. Services is just too important at this point in the game here. So we'll see how it goes. We talk about beta every week and see how things are, and then we get to play with them, and then of course never put beta on your primary phone. To keep telling people that.
Right.
Never do that. Never.
No betas on mission critical devices.
Nope. No, I got it.
That's the other reason it's not usually on my iPad.
Right. I got this on my 10R as my camera. That's 16.4, and I got my iPad Pro 12.9 inch sporting 16.4. So those are sufficient. Keep the other ones on the stable version. So it happened last week, but 5 years ago, the HomePod was launched. It was 5 years ago on February 9th, 2018. And I can't believe it's been that long. I mean, I remember when I go back and listen to my previous podcast. So when I kind of the same thing I did when I bought the iPhone 8 and I said, I'm not going to upgrade to the iPhone 10. And I did anyway, and bought the 8 and the 10 came out within 2 months of each other. You heard back then past episodes too. So yeah, I did buy them and then I returned them and I said, no, I really like them. The price is better. And then now I have both my paired first gen HomePods, but it was a cool thing. And I remember Phil Schiller was on stage at the time and said it was a magical new music experience from Apple. So it did get reviews for its sound quality, but of course everybody's saying it was limited and a lot of things that weren't too exciting. But what did you think, Jeff? You did buy you have a HomePod, right? You bought the first. Did you buy the first gen?
Yep, I did. Bought it. I guess we could do a pre-order on it. It was 5 years ago.
I did too.
So it's hard for me to remember. Yeah, so I pre-ordered that HomePod, and that's the one that got its software update. Was it yesterday, today, whenever the update came out?
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, here's the thing. Yes, it's limited. Yes, I have all these frustrations with Siri on the HomePod. If someone had a really, really sweet deal on a used original HomePod, I would consider getting one just to have a stereo pair.
Yep. They're not.
But yeah, no one wants to get rid of their OG HomePods. And honestly, I'm not that interested in getting the second gen HomePod. That if I get more, it'll just be minis probably, or a sweet deal on an OG.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it has been a fantastic streaming music device for me.
I like it. I like it a lot too.
And even as a single HomePod, not a stereo pair, I play music on that thing every single day, a lot, and I appreciate the stuff it does well.
Yep. You don't have a HomePod, Brittany, do you?
I have one mini.
You have a mini,
and I confess its main job is to be my smart home hub.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah, that's the most cost-effective way to do it. Good for you.
I've got 4 of them.
Because here's the thing, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I use Overcast, and it's annoying to send anything anywhere. In fact, I don't even know if you can still. You couldn't at one point. And yeah, it's not easy. Whereas the music, it's a lot easier. So I try to remember to do it when I'm listening to music, but sometimes I don't because the podcasts are what I listen to more, and they're so difficult and cumbersome.
Yeah. But no, I'm with Jeff. I'm gonna keep these OG HomePods. I'm happy with them. They step above me here, and I use them to watch TV, listen to the sound. I get the amazing sound from the Apple TV, and I'm supporting the Apple TV and everything here and on this TV now. Even my cable TV I still have. I'm streaming it through there, and I've gotten really used to it. I'm really happy that I did that. Get rid of their box, and I don't have to have Comcast's $10 a month box to do it through their Stream app. So
the other thing is it's in one room.
Yeah,
and I work in different rooms all the time,
right?
And so I just have never built a habit, and I'd have to buy a bunch more or restrict my working area, which might happen at some point. To like get into the habit.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
One in the living room, one in the bedroom.
I have a floor layout in my place that allows me to have the HomePod in the living room, and it can be heard from basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But then I have a set of minis in the bedroom, so I have stereo in there, as far away from the OG HomePod as it can possibly be. So my whole place is covered with basically a couple of HomePods.
Yeah,
you're set.
I'm set.
You are set. You are set.
But I totally get why it would be hard to develop a habit of using the Mini for anything other than a HomeKit hub,
right?
Because it's not. You need to have that ubiquitous access.
Yeah, I got it too. I also have the Sonos Move as my other speaker, which is an awesome device too, and I got that as a nice gift.
Do you have a workflow? So like, how do you decide when you're going to use what?
Well, the good thing is, especially in iTunes, you can go in and you actually compare them in iTunes. So you go in and I can check off Sonos Move, and then I can check off the Apple the HomePods and be able to play them. It's kind of fun because I have the two HomePods above me right here. Actually, one down there, one up here, and then the Move is down below me. But the cool thing about the Move is it's portable as it's battery. I just pick it up and put it in another spot, and then you can raise the volume on the Move, and then you get some really heavy bass and a fun sound. But then you have the HomePods are supporting those too. But I didn't buy the Move, so I got it as a gift. I got it as a work gift for my 20-year anniversary. So that was very nice of them. So I couldn't pass it up.
Brittany, what I do is I'll say like, hey, S lady, play John Williams' greatest hits everywhere. And then it just turns on all my HomePods. No. Or I'll say, hey Siri, play. Hey Siri, stop. Hey S lady, play Star Wars. And
always leaves the Star Wars
in the living room, and then it's just the one HomePod.
Okay,
works. And then just to touch on the second gen HomePod, it's getting mixed reviews. I mean, I'm not surprised. A lot of people it's going to be pretty hard. I'd be curious to know how the sales have been for the second gen HomePod. I can't get out of my mind the fact that it's so much. I'm so thrilled the fact I can actually unplug the plug from the back of the HomePod, and it actually because I'm looking at that plug up there right now. I was like, God, that annoys me. That thing sits there. I can't pull that thing out without trashing it. But I have a link in the show notes for the article about iFixit tearing it down today, and it was interesting to see that it's a little more repairable because they used a lot less adhesive, and you didn't have to cut into it and to get it opened up. But there was no major support. There were no major surprises. It's got the S7 processor, which is an Apple Watch processor. LEDs that show through the display at the top, which are kind of fun. I was looking at because I did go to the Apple store and checked it out, and then of course having the temperature and sensors that are in that new one. The good thing is the HomePod Mini has those. So, and I haven't had time to play with that yet, but
the weird thing is, if at some point I actually can build the house we're trying to build, that regulations are getting in the way of, I could see me getting more for the temperature in each room. Like from the home automation standpoint, could be what did it. And then once it is everywhere, now I can get into the habit easier of saying, hey, S, let's play this here or there. Because at the moment, if I say it, at home, which is not here, it just goes out of my phone, which is sort of annoying.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I still like HomePod. I'm happy with it, and it sounds like everybody else here on the panel is as well. And it just, if you already have the OG HomePod, there's probably no rhyme or reason to upgrade. I mean,
I agree completely.
I didn't do it, and I'm
just if they're breaking. But if yours hasn't, congratulations.
Yeah, no, they're still going. And I'm one, as you guys know me, I do tend to upgrade pretty quickly, and I shouldn't, but I do.
So, Dave, I have a hot take on buying HomePods.
Yep.
Unless you have a very compelling reason why you need a big HomePod, buy a HomePod Mini.
Yeah. I mean, when they're on sale, $80.
Don't spend the money on the big one.
Do the minis go on sale? Is that a thing?
Minis go on sale. Yeah.
Christmas time they did.
And I think it's Costco oftentimes has the mini for $79.
Yeah, there you go. It's a steal.
Keep my eye out.
All right, let's move on to the other discussion, and I wanted to talk a little bit about ChatGPT. It did get announced. It was back in February 9th when Microsoft went all in with their AI boosted search with the Bing browser, which I can't believe I'm even saying Bing. And that search.
When was Bing last relevant?
Yeah, now all of a sudden
actively,
it is.
And now it's hilarious.
Yeah.
The last time Bing was relevant to seriously discuss was before it was launched, when we were talking about Microsoft was potentially getting into the space and what would it mean for Google. And then it happened, and we saw what relevance it didn't have. And there you go.
Yep. So, what's been your thoughts of the ChatGPT? We were talking about it on Mac Voices Live, and it was very impressive.
Sad I missed that.
Yeah, I was putting in like the show notes, and it was coming in. I was loving it. It was talking about me, and it just pulled all the information from my podcast and my bio, and I was like, wow, I didn't have to write this. I could create a whole new resume with this. So it's absolutely amazing. I'm just using the ChatGPT, the beta version of it. So, but
I am obsessed with the actual ChatGPT.
You are? Okay.
No joke. Like, oh yes, this is very serious. So for years, I have been wanting a developer to use GPT to allow people to put in, because writing resumes and cover letters, I feel like this is the thing that sucks for everyone.
Yeah.
But with ADHD, it's super nova sucks to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you bring in like extra imposter syndrome, you bring in extra like sense of rejection, and then also it's super boring. And so what I wanted was somebody to be able to like give a bullet list and pop it out. And it turns out I just had to wait a little while, and then there'd be this generic tool that could also write my Apple script for me. And I've been using it mostly for video descriptions, but like taking my video outlines and then saying, hey, could you make the video description for YouTube from it? I could do things like say, hey, could you give it a lighter tone? Oh, hey, could you now out a Star Wars reference? And they were valid Star Wars references. And then later in the chat, I'm not even asking it. I'm asking it to do something else give me ideas about things. And one of them was Star Wars.
Oh. Yeah.
I am enamored of it. I've been plugging in a bunch of stuff for the ADHD Guild so it can pop out descriptions and things. I'm having a great time.
Yeah. And you can even use
Brittany,
it. Oh, go ahead.
Brittany, I'm actually really, really happy to hear you saying this, because you're a great use case for how ChatGPT can be a valid and useful tool. Whereas we're seeing so much of people putting in stuff where it doesn't have the tight parameters that you're providing. And when you have those really tight parameters, you tend to get the kinds of results that you need. Whereas for something else, like me telling it to write a bio for me, and it spits out something that sounds really good and is almost completely wrong.
Yeah.
And never use it as it's always a first draft, right? But for me, the first draft is killer. Like, as in, I never want to do it, so I put off the thing forever. And so having the thing that could, like, don't submit that first draft as, to get a job of a resume or cover letter, but like use it and update it to make it sound like you.
Right.
It's great.
No, I agree.
Yep. What I really like about ChatGPT is it shows the potential for where we can go with this type of technology. It's not something that I feel comfortable telling the general public to go use, because it's going to give us the kind of results that we're seeing where we get the news articles, where it's doing
from people who should know better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
did you see the stuff? Sorry, when we're done with regular ChatGPT, I want to get back to the Microsoft.
Oh, right. Like the stuff that Bing
sounds like a dystopian nightmare.
Yes.
Robots take over. When the Bing search specifically has had errors, it has been hilarious.
Yeah, they're pretty epic.
Terrifying and hilarious.
And, you'd think Microsoft would have learned from when they did that chatbot thing a couple years ago that very quickly became a horrible racist.
I forgot that was Microsoft.
That was Microsoft. Yeah, you think they would have taken what came out of that and figured out a way to create a framework to keep.
And I'm actually interested in what things they've put into the ChatGPT because I know they did some things to try to avoid that, but sorry.
Yeah.
You're talking. I'm just very excited, Jeff.
No, it's okay because we're both very excited.
Oh, so we all are here. That's why I wanted. I thought this was a good topic for us.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's like someone at Microsoft thought, okay, if this were a bowling alley, because I'm building a really bad analogy here, let's get those bumper things that go in the gutters so we can keep the ball on the lane and have a higher likelihood of hitting the pins. And they went out and got those things. And
then the bumper started yelling at people.
I like that. This? Yeah. Yeah. Or they put them on the wrong lane and now they're not sure why this thing keeps spitting out toxic gutter balls.
But to Microsoft's credit, they released a statement saying, hey, this is what we are actively learning about and like are being transparent, which I think is really cool. And saying, hey, like we didn't expect y'all to talk for 2 hours to the same chat thing. And here's what we think is happening, but we don't know because that's how machine learning works. You don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah. I think Microsoft was also doing a flex with this.
Oh, yeah.
Which pushed Google to do their Bard announcement. I don't think Google had any plans of talking or doing a big Bard demo like they did. And it didn't play out the way they wanted because it had info that was wrong. On the other hand, Bing with ChatGPT offers up info that's wrong, and it goes neurotic on you. And at least Bard isn't doing that. So, baby steps.
The one other thing I had to do.
Bard isn't. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, Bard's not neurotic. ChatGPT with Bing, that needs some therapy.
One other thing I wanted to mention is I have an article
in
the show notes. How you can use ChatGPT with your iPhone and your Apple Watch. That does require you to sign up with the OpenAI website, and you sign up with that, and you actually can set up a shortcut for your on your iPhone, and you can create that shortcut to access the bot on your iPhone or your Apple Watch, or even if you have the Apple Watch Ultra, you could put it on the action button. And then you get a key and you're able to, that's an API key, and then you actually configure it. There's some steps here how to do it, but I think that's kind of cool someone that already is getting ingenious of taking advantage of shortcuts to be able to access the ChatGPT through an iPhone or an Apple Watch too.
I'm so doing this.
Hey, S lady, write me a script to read to Bing ChatGPT to send it completely over the edge.
What have you heard about some of the things they've been messing with on ChatGPT?
Yeah, where they figure out the wording to kind of work around the restrictions that are. Yeah.
So
it's this whole AI conversational thing is exciting and terrifying at the same time.
It really is. It kind of terrified me when I was looking at some of the stuff it wrote. Like, wow, just about me.
The podcast, the selections that they picked out to read from the Bing phrasing that was less than ideal, they all sounded like something that came out of a movie about like discussing, do the machines have feelings? Because it was all like talking about its feelings.
Yes.
And
it's very creepy.
Yeah.
I do like how Bing went out when someone asked it about Mars, and it started feeding back info about the population on Mars and the government, and it turns out that it went and found like a wiki site about the Expanse, and it was feeding back info from that site about Mars as if it was fact. Bless its little digital heart.
I know. I do think trying to because one of the things that they're trying to do is source where the things are coming from. It's not working yet, obviously, but I mean,
right.
Sourcing is a good thing. It's nice to have this.
Yeah. So
it's important.
Check it out. ChatGPT is it's exciting. It's something that we haven't been able to experience all these years, and now we have it, and I'm hoping it continues to evolve. I'd like to see it in other browsers, and Bing is going to be, and search engines for that matter. Who knows? Apple could be working on it. We've heard rumors of that as well. So, they could be incorporating something like that into a potential site that they would create. So, it's a lot of exciting things ahead.
I have a feeling it's not so much a site as it is a service. A
service, right.
That's good.
Yeah. And what we'll see from Apple at some point is the integration of their advanced conversational AI into Siri. And then a lot of the issues that I have with Siri limitations today go away, or it becomes incredibly terrifying when in the middle of the night, my HomePod wakes me up because it's lonely or something.
Yeah.
I think you're a little more optimistic than I am. I mean, I meanwhile have this new buddy that like does stuff for me that I would have had an assistant do before. And instead, Siri can't hear me still half the time. So
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I am fully aware that there's a lot of fantasy happening with this idea that I have.
I want it too, Jeff.
Yeah, I want it. Yeah.
And in general, I do find the things from Apple less terrifying. So there's that.
Yeah.
So I want to hit one last topic before we wrap up here, and that's the question of Apple having a hardware subscription. That's been quite a rumor for the last couple months. As we all know, and I'm on it, the iPhone upgrade program has been around for a long, long time. And that's how I always get my new iPhones every year, because I'm more or less renting my phone, because after 12 months, I turn it in and get the next new model. So, and that's the one way to be able to buy it, spreading the cost over 2 years. You decide if you want to keep it, you can pay throughout the whole 2 years, and then it's yours. So you got to wonder what's going to be different as far as how a hardware subscription would work. I guess it would be probably a true rental. It's not really an installment purchase or a purchasing scheme. And it'll probably be bundled like other services. I would venture to say maybe it's not necessarily just Apple Care, and it could probably be extended to other hardware like iPads, Macs. I know Best Buy is already doing a Mac hardware subscription.
I think Best Buy's Mac hardware subscription is a really good test bed that you can bet Apple's watching very closely.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So a lot of the stuff from Mark Gurman and Bloomberg, they've been talking a lot of these details, but one of the quotes in the article here on the 9 to 5 Mac is the program would differ from an installment program in that the monthly charge wouldn't be the price of the device split across 12 or 24 months. Rather, it would be a yet to determine monthly fee that depends on which device you choose. So you don't necessarily, like if in the case of an iPhone, if you maybe want an iPhone 15 as opposed to an iPhone 15, maybe Ultra, that might come out this year. So, and then they can bundle it with other services too, like I just mentioned. And you can do maybe the Apple Watch, maybe you can do the iPad, and you can do the Mac. And it's going to be interesting to see where this goes. But is Apple going to dive into this thing? What do you think, Brittany? Is this something that you would be interested in if there was a subscription of a product, or would you just like to buy things outright?
No, I buy them outright. I have less to track financially, but also I have a tendency to keep my phones afterwards. These are just the 3 you can see in this room that I could reach after you started talking about it.
I have a couple myself. So
you get cooler every time we talk.
You do get cooler.
but also, I'm very picky about the size of my phone.
Yes, you want the mini.
So I'll get this one, and I've got the other mini, and sorry, I was trying to think of like what tech deity would I be worshiping, but I did not come up with a good one.
Siliconius.
Siliconius.
I just
Siliconius willing. There will be another one at some point for me to upgrade to, and maybe I'll go wild and buy 2 or something. So no, like I would never want to have that little control over what I'm getting next, or when I don't have it anymore. But for some people, I get it. Like there are a lot of people who do their budgeting the opposite of me, which is like I buy things outright and like put away the money for my bills because I get paid in weird lumps. Anyway, some people do like I get paid this much per week, per month. And so those payment plans like are a way to sort of automatically budget for them. And so there are people that would be a good bet for, just not me.
Yeah. A couple comments in the chat on YouTube. Ozok17 says, one wonders how a hardware subscription would interact with the ongoing availability of long-term support models. That's a good point.
I have a hypothesis here. And my hypothesis is hardware subscription, at least initially, if Apple does this, will not be a consumer-focused thing. It will be a business-focused thing.
Yeah.
And then your long-term support, it's you have to stop thinking about it the way we do today, because that becomes simply part of the subscription. So as long as you're subscribing to whatever hardware you have, there's support for that hardware.
Right.
And since their system will have that hardware rotating out on a regular basis, it's just all part of the thing. Yeah. But I'm thinking more business first. And for some people,
like the support part of it would be huge. Like for people who don't have, people like the kind of people who are going to watch or listen to this, or us in their lives, like to know I can easily get someone to help me with this. I mean, that was one of the really big selling points for like Kindle Fire and stuff for people was you could just call someone and they'd help you with your device right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that actually could be a really big deal, but I don't think everyone will ever go to it because it will be more expensive than keeping one for a real long time.
Yes, but for some companies, the trade-off is worth it because the business expense, and keep in mind, I am not an accountant. The business expense for the subscription is no, I don't. Yeah, it'll work out better for them than the expense as a hardware purchase.
Yeah. And or having somebody on your staff that just fixes people's phones.
Yeah.
When they aren't working.
Right. And, and if it's a subscription thing and let's say you're a small business and so you have 5 employees, you now have 6. Okay. You just add one more subscription to your bundle.
Yeah.
And the computer shows up in the mail or they go and pick it up at the store and it's ready for them. Set up however it needs to be. Something goes wrong with one of the employees' computers.
Yeah.
And it needs some hardware thing, they just take it into the store and Apple hands them a new one.
Right.
They walk out and it becomes much more efficient and probably cost effective for some of these businesses, because it's just like, here it is, take it, go.
Yeah.
You're done.
Makes it easier. So
yeah.
I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I think the iPhone upgrade program is, I like it a lot, and I wouldn't if I didn't do it. And
if you know you're going to want the new thing no matter what, and you're okay with giving up the old one, why not?
Yeah, I mean, I am, because I do this show, and I want to be able to have.
And you're gonna want the new one. Yeah. I've literally ever met you.
Yeah, it's like a lease.
It's easy
at that point.
It is. Yeah. I mean, just like you make payments, you can get payments through your Apple Card. I mean, you buy a Mac, you buy an iPad or Apple Watch. I did it and paid it off in 12 months and didn't even feel it, because it's 0% and comes out automatically, and you don't even think of it. That's what I love about the Apple Card. Probably a love-hate relationship, since I shouldn't be buying things a lot of times, but it does. Yeah. What the heck? That's what we love. We love our Apple products here. So, great conversation. Yeah. Thanks. And I think we had some awesome topics. Hope you enjoyed the show here. And let's go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the live stream as well as watch the recorded live stream and all the past audio shows. We also have In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud, or I'm on Twitter at DaveG65 as well. Brittany Smith, thank you always for being here. We always have a great conversation and great show with you on, and where can people find you?
Someday, after I pay Jeff some exorbitant fee to walk me through Mastodon, I'll have that. In the meantime,
we can both help
when notifications are working on Twitter, I'm ADD Liberator. My website's conquer.consulting, but I've also been putting stuff on the ADD Liberator YouTube channel.
Great. Yes, you have some awesome content on there, on a lot of iOS.
Oh, thanks.
Apple-centric stuff. It's always good. So thanks for being here. And Jeff Gamet, always a pleasure having you here. And where can people find you?
It's always a pleasure to get to hang out with you. Brittany, it's not an exorbitant fee. We'll get you hooked up.
Couple beers.
Right. And I am really looking forward to when we finally get to hang out in person together, because
me too.
That just hasn't happened.
I've never met either of you in person.
I know.
It'll happen, and it'll be great. And Klingons will write operas about it. I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So anyhow, when Klingons aren't writing operas about my antics, Jay Gamet on the social medias, the ones that I'm active on right now are Mastodon and Instagram. And then for shows, let's see, Tuesdays, Mac Voices Live, so that's Chuck Joyner show. Then on Thursdays, the big show. And then here with you, Dave, on In Touch with iOS on Thursday evenings, Friday mornings on the Mac show. And before we recorded today, I recorded the new episode of The Context Machine with Ryan Chaffin.
Yay. That's awesome. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks to everybody in the chat room. This is always great. Boy, the last few weeks we've had a good turnout. I really appreciate everybody that's been and giving us some questions and interacting. We appreciate it. And for those listening, we appreciate you listening. I hope you enjoyed the show because we enjoy doing it. And we'll talk again soon.